What is the biggest threat to housing? It's not inflation, it's not mortgage rates, it's not home prices, and it's not inventory. The biggest threat to housing right now is the media. The media is going to stoke a lot of fear in people when they misinterpret the data that is coming out. So it's really important to know and understand where we were in the housing market prior to the pandemic, where we are during the pandemic, where we were after the pandemic, and where we are going. And in order to do that, we're going to break it up into four distinct data points. Number one is going to be home appreciation. Okay, so home appreciation prior to 2020 averaged anywhere between 4 and 7%. Okay, very normal, very sustainable, and really helped us post 2008 to create where we are today. Okay, now during the pandemic, we have to understand what happened. We had people that were rushing to find housing to get home offices, to homeschool their kids, a bigger backyard, a pool. Interest rates went down to record lows. So this fueled demand. People were buying second homes and vacation homes and all these things. This fueled home price appreciation between 11 and 18%. Again, outside of what would be considered normal. Okay. Now, post-pandemic, the market is normalizing. It's not that home prices are going down. We're going back to home appreciation of where we were prior to the pandemic. This is really good news because 5% a year in 2022 is sustainable. 11 and 18% is not sustainable. So again, we're just absorbing the market going back to a more normal market. The next slide we're going to go through is regarding buyer demand. Okay. So despite all the headlines that you read, we're still selling over 10,000 homes a day in the United States. So while buyer demand has decreased, okay, when you compare it back to 2017 and 2020, you can very clearly see in 2023 that the showing traffic is well above where we were previously. But again, once again, the media has spun it is that demand is falling because all they're doing is looking back on those pandemic years. We're going through the roof because the demand was out of control because of ultra low interest rates. So we have not even returned back to where we were previously and still well above pre-pandemic years. Okay. The other thing that we want to look at, the third item, is inventory. Okay. So it's really, really important to know and understand where inventory has been. So let's put this into perspective. Okay. Weekly inventory, okay, in the last week of June rose from 459,000 to 465,000. The same week last year, okay, inventory rose from 441,000 to 472,000, okay? And to put even more perspective, the inventory bottomed out in 2022 at 240,000 homes for sale, which is an extreme record low. The inventory only peaked this year at 472,000. For context, and this is where the context is that a lot of the media is missing, is that in 2015, that same amount of listings was 1.1 million, okay? So we are still 50% less where we were in 2015 today. So inventory, as you can see from this, is still at record low. So you have record low inventory, still very strong buyer demand, and sustainable home appreciation. Okay. Now, the third item that we are going to go through, or the fourth item, I'm sorry, is foreclosures. We've heard a lot about foreclosures increasing. Okay. There has been a lot of alarming headlines on foreclosures about the percent increase of foreclosures. Now, you got to remember, and it's very crucial to understand, that during the pandemic, we had the lowest amount of foreclosures because there was a moratorium. Okay. So it is extremely important to know and understand that between 2020 and 2021, we had record low foreclosure rates. But if you look at this chart, you can see in 2017, 2018, and 2019, the trend was actually moving lower. And what that means is that more people were paying their mortgage on time, and we were not seeing foreclosures leading into the pandemic. Now, it's up to 324,000 last year, but again, the percentage that people are using in the media to stoke fear is going from 151,000 to 324,000. So again, it's extremely important to know where we were prior to the pandemic, where we were during the pandemic, and where we are after, okay? So the other important thing to keep in mind on foreclosures is people have a record amount of equity in their homes today. So the likelihood of seeing an enormous amount of foreclosures is just not there. So in summary, okay, there will be likely a lot of very unsettling headlines about the housing market through the remainder of the year, primarily stemming from an inappropriate comparison to years during the pandemic. It is extremely important that you seek the guidance of an expert to keep everything in proper perspective. My team and I are on standby 7 days a week from 7 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. And we are here to provide assistance to help you understand and review this data so you can make an informed decision. And let's be clear, even after knowing and understanding all the data, you still may decide that it's not the right time to buy, and that is fine. What we want to avoid is you making a decision to buy or not to buy on bad information and looking back later and regretting it. So it's important to know and understand the data. My team and I are committed to helping you do that. Thank you.